You're watching by choice, or so you believe your will is free.
Whisperwind sits atop the hill, its drive lined with manicured hedges and menacing silence. There are guards who do not smile. The gates are tightly shut, with no sign of movement, and the pristine finish emphasizes exclusivity. The world outside has never heard of this place, and it is designed this way. This is not a facility for the public. This is where people who can't be seen falling apart are brought, quietly, after midnight. A discreet, brushed steel plaque by the doors reads, Whisperwind Sanitarium, Executive Recovery. The word is precise and polite, as if asylum had been run through a PR firm and fitted with soft carpet. Inside, the staff refer to guests, not patients. Nobody is here by accident. Guests arrive in pairs or alone, but the reception process is identical for all, identification taken, devices surrendered into velvet-lined boxes, and visitor names switched for aliases copied into a thick, handwritten ledger. In this place, identity is another thing to store away. Calls are blocked by design. Not a word, not an email, escapes without permission. At her desk, Nurse Mara sits beneath the rules. She signs new confidentiality agreements every quarter and watches people with a studied empathy, patient enough for healing's slow journey. Anyone who claims a cure overnight, she sometimes mutters, sells more than a remedy. Tonight, a minister arrives under cover of darkness, grey suit rumpled, his walk unsteady, shaking hands gripping a plain valise. His jaw sets with effort, his every gesture taut, eyes pleading for discretion. He is described as overworked on the paperwork, but the way his knees nearly give is not exhaustion. It is collapse kept barely in check. Next, the pop icon, pale beneath tinted shades, her hair wound beneath a silk scarf like bandages. Despite her entourage, she moves with the hunched prowl of prey, wary of every camera that might peer through the glass. The last of the evening's three carries a briefcase and little else. His title, chairman, weighs more than flesh. Now they will join other elite guests around the world. At 2:16, the guests rise as one entity, moving together in silent agreement. There is no signal, no prompting, but an unseen rhythm gathers them into a single line. It is as though a silent bell has sounded that only they can hear. The guests, standing obediently, inhale and exhale in synchrony. Their breathing synchronizes until the room becomes an orchestra, each body an instrument gently tuned to harmonious silence. One guest, marked by the icon at her shoulder, tenses against the invisible current. She receives a spear of pain and snaps back to calm in an instant. Resistance is punished, but calm brings mercy. The stakes are clear. In the hallway, Mara watches through a thin sliver in the door, eyes wide with horror. The quiet cure is not healing them, it is altering them, hollowing out their very capacity for feeling. Somewhere in the background, a member of staff flips the main breaker. The lights flicker and waver, but the procedure does not waver. The currents run deeper than the circuitry. Slipping unseen into a maintenance hallway unmarked on the map, Mara follows a growing vibration, feeling the resonance in walls and wires. The corridor twists and dips, leading her into spaces the blueprints never mentioned. Down a brutal flight of concrete stairs, the vibration becomes a hum and then a living thing. The deeper Mara pushes, the more the sensation stirs within her bones. She arrives in a room lined with observation glass, facing a bank of monitors. Each one displays the quiet crown session from impossible angles, above, below, from within someone's eye. The ordeal is being watched, studied, recorded. A desk is littered with technical notes, sketches of brains, jagged frequency charts, and cold words on paper: pacify, remove doubt. These charts are the handwriting of engineers, not caregivers. Mara leans closer, catching sight of a list, names and faces she recognizes: ministers, presidents, generals, celebrities, CEOs. Whisperwind's targets are not random. They are the architects of crowds and policies. Someone stands behind the glass, Director Harrow. He is tall, thin, impeccably dressed, too still, too precise. His attention slices through the glass, watching the session as if it were an intricate experiment. There is something not quite right about him. His eyes catch the light too sharply, his eyelids blink just a fraction too late. It is the uncanny valley of a mask that remembers the rules of a face, but not the soul behind it. On his console sits a diagram, stark and logical: digression OFF, a doubt OFF, ambition low. Destroy the engines of discontent, questioning and hope. Make people peaceful by making them inert. Another page spells it out: peace equals stability. Stability equals safety. It is repeated, almost like an equation to believe rather than a plan to enact. He calls it peace and reason and sells it as salvation. His map is filled with pins, each one a key city or a media source, stitched around the globe. Whisperwind begins with the elite. Tranquil leaders pacify their nations. Sedate icons pacify the crowds. Quiet spreads like a current downwards. On the last notepad, a single line clarifies the real intent: pacified species does not resist. A heavy rubber stamp crashes onto a sheaf of crisp papers: quiet crown, subject ready. The process is concluded. This is no cure. This is a crowning. After see all that, Mara decided that she would no longer stay and work at this place. Flashbulbs burst as the minister stands before a sea of reporters. His smile, calm and precise, glows for the cameras, and the room seems to exhale with relief. Whisperwind announces a miracle recovery, and the anticipation dissolves into applause. The world, bruised by chaos, finds solace in the minister's tranquil composure. Calm feels safe, and safety is all anyone wants. When the minister speaks, his words are impeccably measured. There is no anger, no edge, only pure, unclouded reason. The audience is lulled, charmed, pacified. He is better than ever, the voice of reassuring sanity. But underneath that serenity is something unsettling: the very perfection of his calm is the hidden danger. Treaties are signed, deals struck, hands shaken with steady smiles. Diplomacy reigns. Every broadcast and front page celebrates this new era where conflict becomes impolite, and strong reactions are quietly labeled as unhealthy. Unrest fades into a kind of collective hush: no one wants to offend, no one wants to alarm. Under the spotlight, a beloved pop icon returns to the stage. Thousands weep with joy as she performs, her presence softer now, her demeanor perfectly gentle. She's remade into the model citizen, elegant, controlled, unshakable. There's not a crack in her composure. Backstage, a sudden loud bang rings out, a dropped rig, perhaps, but unstage, the icon's lips don't falter. No start, no wince. Nothing rattles her anymore, and the world calls it strength. But it isn't strength. It is disarmament. Mara steps out of Whisperwind with little more than a travel bag. Her gait is uncertain, wary. She leaves her job behind, uncertain if her warning will ever be believed. Calm authority is so much easier to trust than a frightened whisper of truth. Later, Mara sits at her sister's family table, sharing jokes as a child darts about. The domestic air is lively, full of noise and love. Suddenly, the child leaps from behind a chair, shouting, "Boo!" at Mara. She sits frozen, her face unmoved, her heartbeat even. Not so much as a blink. Embarrassed, the child's mirth dissolves under a growing sense of discomfort. He studies Mara, confused, then quietly wounded. Something is off, a spark is missing. The family resumes, but Mara cannot join. That brief moment stays with her, haunting. In solitude, she stands over a bathroom sink, gripping the edges hard. Her hands tremble. Panic seeps in. But the panic is not complete, she can feel herself forgetting how to fear. Late at night, Mara sits before a tape recorder. She presses record "Ima," private written shakily across the cassette. In a voice neither calm nor wild, but desperate, she speaks her warning, trying to capture the last shards of uncertainty before they are taken, too. She repeats the point for posterity, her voice almost lost in the noise: "If you feel too calm, you're not safe." In clean, soothing clinics, the silent cure is the new luxury for the world's elite. Soon available to everyone. In glass-paneled rooms, CEOs, politicians, and celebrities tune in, headphones on, basking in curated stillness. They don't ask about the architecture of their tranquility. No one queries who stands behind this new calm. Everywhere, posters urge, stay calm. Be reasonable. No extremes. Reason becomes religion. Calm is sanctified, fear is something to hide, anger a curable condition. Yet with every risk deemed unacceptable, ambition quietly falters. A laboratory's lights go out, a bold project is cancelled. Too risky stamped coldly across its paperwork. The pulse of discovery grows faint. A decade later, Mara sits in a cramped, dim-lit room, hands trembling as she loads the tape machine. Her eyes are rimmed red, dark shadows pooling beneath. She presses record, her finger pausing as if defying a silent urge to flee. She steels herself, fear focuses her words. She speaks quickly, desperately, as if the message could slip away between the beats of her anxious heart. This recording is her final insurance against what comes next. A jagged waveform flickers in darkness. Over the crackling hum, Mara's voice plays, thin and urgent. Subtitles bloom stark and white: "If they take your fear, they take your breaks." But no one is left to hear her warnings. The world outside changes. Photographs show smiling agency heads and foreign dignitaries streaming out of Whisperwind's gates, their faces eerily composed. Crowds see them, see serenity, and cannot imagine anything sinister lingering beneath. The government responds in kind. The National Stability Act is signed, its seal pressed with pride. In a well-lit hall, the architects of policy are met with ovation. Those released from Whisperwind return with a single, unyielding instinct: root out conflict, legislate harmony, discredit resistance. The room hums with approval, caution becomes a flaw. The nation's priorities shift. Piles of military proposals are rubber-stamped as excessive. An indignant general pleads to the panel, his conviction dismissed as mere paranoia. Defense, once noble, is now suspect. Warnings are dismissed as unhealthy overreactions, echoes of an outdated fear. Millions perform breathing exercises, seeking perfect composure. No protest, only unity in softness. False peace become a brand. And then the thing Mara feared finally happens. Not a rumor. Not a warning. An arrival. The response is exactly what the quiet cure trained into them: no panic, no mobilization, no fight. A pacified species doesn't resist. It negotiates. It delays. It stays calm, and it dies politely.
Another case file, complete.